Hey guys, thank you for joining us today on the first episode of Gripping Talk. We've got an amazing guest with us today, Rebecca Roberts, two-time world's strongest woman and secret grip nerd. So I'm really excited to have her here, just learn about her journey in the sport, how she's got to this sort of level, and learn more about her, like how she's into grip training and how she incorporates that into her strong woman journey. So Rebecca, thank you for joining me. Just introduce yourself for those that don't know who you are.
It's great to be here. So as you said, I am two-time world's strongest woman. I'm the current Britain's strongest woman and UK strongest woman. And I've also, not many people know this, but I've actually won the World Grip Championships twice. So I used to compete in grip a lot back in the day before strong women took over.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing really, because obviously grip plays a massive part in like strong man, strong woman, but it's sort of underrated, I guess I'd say. And having big hands is obviously a massive thing to help, but having that strong grip, the endurance, and learning how to give yourself that small advantage is going to benefit you massively.
Well, it's something that I never really have to worry about.
Yeah.
So a lot of women or men or anyone in the sport, when they don't have that grip strength, they're worrying about whether they can pick up the farmers and things, and that's just not something that crosses my mind at all. So it's really good that I have had that base grip strength built up before kind of entering the elite kind of level of the sport, because I don't have to think about it. And then you see a lot of people struggling with the grip at the top end of the sport, and I'm just like, no, this is fine.
Easy. It's like, how fast can I do it? Not if I can pick it up. So how did you get into strong woman?
Well, I started competing in 2016 after I met my partner at the time, Paul. He was also a God's Grip athlete. But yeah, he decided that I was quite strong and told me to enter a competition like 5 months after we first met. And that competition was UK Strongest Woman. And I was like, right, okay. So I entered it. We met in the May of 2016. And by September 2016, I was the UK Strongest Woman.
Oh my God.
So it kind of like, I feel like I skipped out on the novice and like the intermediate the first time as stage and just went straight up to the top level of the sport.
That's crazy. So what is that now? 8 years ago. Obviously the sport's grown a massive amount since then. And I suppose part of that could be down to like you inspiring people. But it's crazy, 8 years ago and straight in UK Strongest Woman. Who was competing back then? Do you know?
To be fair, a lot of the people that competed then aren't competing now. Because that's one thing that I really focus on is longevity in the sport, and a lot of people are almost like a quick kind of flash in the fire and then they're out. And it's why I've managed to keep competing at the top level for 8 years. So a lot of the people that were competing then, they're not really competing anymore.
Fried in the pan. And obviously you mentioned about Paul. Paul was like a big inspiration for me because he was really at like the top level of grip strength, like closing the number 4 captains of Crush, just ridiculous thick bar strength. And he was just like a really cool guy to learn. He was so good at teaching it. Like I remember when we went to Strength Fest 1 and Paul was there, he just came to the stall, he was just showing people everything, like how to use the hand grippers, and we were just like, this is great.
You've got a free teacher.
But he was so good at that. So I can see how that will have massively benefited you, because he sort of built the foundation for you to go on and sort of become this dominant force that you are now, kind of.
Yeah, because grip was definitely a main passion of his. And that was actually the second competition I ever did in my life, was the European Grip Championships in Norway in 2017. And I won that as well. And so really I kind of started training my grip quite seriously in 2016. And then it was kind of like the first kind of 3 years of my career that I was really like hammering it and training and going to all the competitions and stuff. And yeah, it was mainly Paul. Like he was like a grip guru.
Yeah, he was.
He knew everything. And to be able to have that as your partner and your coach, like, it was invaluable.
So what are your plans for sort of this year?
To be honest, my plans for this year is to compete a bit less than I did last year.
Yeah.
I feel like I did way too many competitions last year, but the competitions really helped me.
Yeah.
Because it was just something positive to focus on while I was going through a bit of a tough time.
Yeah.
Because obviously Paul passed away in December of 2022.
Yeah.
And then my dad passed away in 2023 as well. So competitions, throwing myself into competitions just helped me mentally.
Yeah.
And now I just feel like I need a year of just competing a bit less and taking a step back. So I think this year I'm probably going to be doing like maybe 5 competitions.
Which is still quite a lot, really.
But last year it was like over double that.
Jeez.
So I'm going to be doing the Arnold's in Ohio, the Arnold's UK, the Giants Live Britain's Strongest Woman,
Nice.
and World's Strongest Woman. So they're 4 that are definitely in the calendar.
It's a good selection.
With maybe a cheeky 5th in there as well. We'll
the
have
Grip
to
League
see.
final.
Well, that's in there actually. That's in my calendar.
So I know you've mentioned about obviously the traumatic experiences you've had in the last couple of years. How have you mentally coped going through training, or is that what's kept you going, sort of thing?
It's definitely what's kept me going, like, because training has just been the thing that's been the same, like, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like there's been 2 versions of myself. So there's Strong Woman Rebecca and there's Life Rebecca.
Right.
So as soon as I step into the gym, Life Rebecca is gone and it's Strong Woman Rebecca.
Yeah.
And I just kind of, it's almost like I just shut my life off, and that time that I'm in the gym is the time where I can just focus on me.
Yeah.
And I don't have to focus on my life's problems. I can have fun, like I get on well with everyone in the gym, and it's just nice to be able to have that, and that's almost been like a solace for me for the last year.
Yeah, I feel like that's where a lot of people struggle. They can't sort of split that balance where they've got obviously life troubles and they'll try and go to the gym and do the training, but they can't, whereas you've obviously sort of got that where you can just switch it on and really put in the hard work and graft, which is why you're at such a high level. I think that's unbelievable, really. And how was it transitioning from Paul as your coach to finding your new coaching? And because I imagine it was a massive change, really.
Yeah, because Paul was there through all of my training.
Yeah.
So I was a proper little princess, really, in the gym. So Paul would always like load my plates and unload them, and I'd have to just go up to the bar and lift it, and I was done. But yeah, like when I had to find a new coach, I was like, well, who do I trust to coach me?
Yeah.
I've had Paul as my coach for like 7 years, and it's like it was a lot to try and just think about who I could use as a strongman coach. And I eventually went to Paul Smith, who my Paul, I know there's 2 Pauls, but my Paul always spoke very highly of him and his methodologies. And whenever they got together, they'd be chin wagging for hours. I swear they were like a bunch of ladies. Like they were just talking for hours about training. And I know that my Paul very agreed like a lot with the way that he trained and the way that he thought, and his methods for wanting things to be like for longevity rather than here and now. So that's why I approached Paul Smith and asked him if he could coach me. And then he coached me up until probably the middle of last year.
Right.
But then I had an offer from David Kent, who is now my coach. So he trains physical, like at my gym. He owns the gym that I train at. So he's there all the time.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm training, I can go up to him and ask him questions and things. So it is different in the sense of I have to load my own bars. The training methodologies are a bit different, and it's a bit weird trying to kind of get used to different training styles, but it's just a case of just having to put your trust in it and trust in the process, and being able to have David there physically with me is a little bit more similar to how Paul used to coach me. That's because I could ask him a question, he could watch a set and give me that feedback straight away. We mess around a lot and we have fun, and that's the thing, like a lot of people forget to have fun. and it's what this sport's about. And I know it's at the point now where it's more professional and stuff, but like, it's important for me not to lose sight of the fact that I am doing this to have fun and to enjoy myself as well.
That's it.
So I always just do random wacky stuff. Like the other day, I was doing my log as Rambo. The week before, I set up an army crawl thing. Like,
oh my God, I saw that actually. Have you seen that?
I will do anything to get out of training. But yeah, I like to just have fun.
That's the best bit about it.
Enjoy it. I get all my training done as well, but I do annoy a lot of people as well.
Yeah. So who have some of your main inspirations been in strongwoman?
Originally, my first inspiration in the sport was Donna Moore, and how can it not be?
Yeah, of course.
She's just been an absolute pioneer for the female side of the sport.
Definitely. Yeah.
And when I first kind of got into the sport, she was the woman that I looked up to, as the woman that I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And it's crazy now how we compete on the same stage. And I've now got World's Strongest Woman titles like her. When I first started, that was all I really ever wanted. And it was just like, it seemed so far out of reach. But it's women like Donna breaking down barriers that make other women feel like they could do the same. Like, when she lifted the world record Atlas Stone, I was like, okay, she can do it, so can I. It was almost like she broke down that barrier.
Yeah.
And it was the same with Lucy Underdown. She lifted a 300 kilo deadlift. She made that almost feel possible for women.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, if she can do 300 kilos, so can I. And I went and I trained and I got a 300 kilo deadlift. But it's almost like the mentality of these women, like in the way that they are breaking down barriers. Yeah. It really helps push the sport forward because it gives so many other women like the aspirations to hit those goals as well, because they seem possible now. So
are you ready for this year? Like, how's your training going and stuff?
It's going really well. I'm really excited for this year, and I'm excited to also just take a little bit of a break this year. And not like a break from the gym, but just a break from competition prep. So I think after Britain's Strongest Woman in June, I'll be just having 3 months out of competition prep completely. So it'll be nice to just have that relaxed year, especially coming off last year is probably being, even in the face of all of the grief and the heartache, it was actually my most successful year to date in strongwoman. So it'll be nice to have a chilled year this year.
Just, have you got any goals, like any particular competitions you want to win, or are you just kind of going in as your best self, just seeing what happens kind of thing?
Well, I want to retain my Britain's Strongest Woman title and my World's Strongest Woman title. And they're going to be two big goals this year to keep them. Because the Giants Live Britain's Strongest Woman is just an amazing competition.
Yeah, it is.
It's crazy because when I first competed in UK Strongest Woman, it was in a gym car park. There was about 3 spectators, and I got a tub of out-of-date protein for winning.
No way.
Honestly, I got a tub of out-of-date protein.
Did you still have it?
No. But now you've got Giants Live putting on Britain's Strongest Woman in sold-out arenas with 5-figure prize money, live streamed to thousands of people, and it's professional. And this is in the time that I've been in the sport. Like, to see it come from where it was to where it is now, it's just...
And you're still so young as well.
Ideally, I want 5 World's Strongest Woman titles, because I think the world record... Not the world record, but the record for the number of World's Strongest Women titles is 4. I think it's Annetta Florschik. I can't pronounce her last name. But I think she won it 4 times. So ideally, like, I want
maybe
5.
6 if you can squeeze another. Just give yourself that little buffer then.
A little buffer. But I think it's possible though. I'm 2 down. I'm still young in the sport, and I'm still improving year on year, and I'm just kind of taking things more as a longevity kind of thing, and not pushing too much too soon, because like we said earlier, there's a lot of people that are kind of in and out within a couple of years, and you never really see them again. So I really focus on just taking the slow path and improving bit by bit.
Okay, so now we're on to the grip challenge. This is something we're going to do for every guest that comes on the show. We've got the 7 elite hand grippers here, and we'll see how far Becca can get. That was easy. That's a really good effort. Well done, Bob, there you go. She nearly got with number 6. So you might have noticed Becca there using a bit of a set on her hand grippers. Do you want to just explain basically your technique and how you find it the most efficient way to close the gripper?
So firstly, you kind of just look to see which side of the gripper is the dog leg, which is the one that's like slightly less curved. And what I tend to do, and what Paul used to tell me, is to kind of almost like do like a birdie with your hand.
Yeah.
And set it into like that crease.
Yeah.
So you want the gripper to kind of like sit in the crease of your hand if you were to kind of like do a little birdie.
Yeah.
And then to get the best leverage on it, you need to make sure that the end of the handle is almost like splitting your little finger in half.
Yeah.
So you kind of like, you do the birdie, make sure that it's split in half. Use your thumb to make sure that the slipper does not slide down as you slightly do a little bit of a set, and then claw your fingers over it. And usually I make sure that my little finger is off, because then when I close the gripper, it kind of just gives you that little bit of extra power right at the end when you're crushing it.
Yeah, my set is exactly the same. I probably learned it off Paul. But yeah, a massive thing that people always sort of do when they're setting is they let this leg slip down, and like I said, get it in that crease, and you really need to keep it in that crease without it slipping. But same technique, we learnt from the best. So before we move on to the last challenge, how do you incorporate grip training into strongman?
I mean, it's really easy to kind of do that without actually adding too much time to like your workout. So a lot of things that I used to do is I used to do grippers in between sets of squats.
Okay.
Because you're resting your legs and you're going to be spending that time just sat down resting or whatever anyway.
I suppose,
you might as well get some grip in while you're kind of doing that. And when I'm warming up for deadlifts, you can put fat grips on the bar for your lighter sets and then move on to double overhand and stuff. So you're still kind of training your grip as you're training normally. Another thing that is really good is plate pinches. So what we used to do, or what I still do now, is I will like pinch the plates as I put them away.
That's a
because
classic,
you're not adding extra time to your training, but you're still really kind of focusing on getting that grip working.
It's those small things, like doing that every day for years, you're going to see huge results. You know, if you do it a couple of times, it's not really going to make any difference. It's the consistency of those small changes that you make that improve it massively.
Yeah, and it's just so easy. A lot of people think, oh, if I start training my grip, it's going to add like an extra God knows how long. And obviously, if you start getting all the implements out and start playing, we all know how long that can take. And that can be hours and hours and hours of like us reattempting like loads of little things. But when you just train in the gym, it's just really easy just to be able to add those little things in and just make it part of your routine.
Perfect. Well, let's see how well it's faring. So this is basically just a dynamometer. You squeeze it as hard as you can and it gives you your crush grip score really. Becca does actually hold the world record on her left hand for this, unsurprisingly. So let's see what she gets. So we're at 0.
$91.65.
I can't remember what it was, but that sounds pretty good.
I think that actually might be a new world record.
I mean, with this, is there any particular technique or is it just grip and rip?
Basically, it's making sure that it's set right in the crook of that hand. And the most force that you can kind of get is when, it's almost like when you're punching. So when I do it, I just really try and like drive out, and that kind of gets the best force.
Well, I think what we'll do is we'll make a little leaderboard for everyone that comes and takes it on. I think that's going to be difficult to beat. So we'll see. But yeah, we'll put it on a little board somewhere and we'll add everyone's score, sort of like Top Gear used to do with the
lap times.
Yeah, lap times, but Becca at the top. Right, we've laid out a little challenge here for Becca, a few different blobs, see how far she can get. I think you've done half 35 before, but I guess we'll see what you can get to today.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Well, not while I'm actually doing it, imagine. I'm not even moving for that one.
Nice. Yes, nice. Go on. Nice, right. I don't think most men didn't lift this in the last competition, so it's a slippery one.
It is.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming over today, Becca. It's been great learning about you and your journey and how grip has been such like an important factor for you, and you're just an amazing woman, really inspirational for like me. I know you are for Laura, and it's great to have you so close to us and coming here and just getting involved. But we've got one question for you. If you could give your 16-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
I think it would just be to be unapologetically myself.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, like, it's taken a long journey for me to really just learn to embrace who I am. Like, growing up, I was different to everybody else. I was taller, I was bigger, and I was bullied for it. And I hated the way that I looked, and I hated my body shape, and I hate the fact that I was different. But now that I've started embracing my different, like, I'm successful, I'm happy, and I love my life and I love myself. And I think that's one piece of advice that I would definitely give, is just to kind of love your quirks, love your differences, and just be unapologetically you.
There you go. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know who you'd like to see next, and we'll see you soon.